Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the Lounging with Landon. That's right, we're back for part 2. Now, what we're going to be making today is beef Wellington. Now, you may be wondering, what is beef Wellington, Landon? Well, lucky for you, I'm gonna tell you. Now, it's probably going to be one of the best things you've ever tasted in your life. And if it isn't, well, you might want to rewind the video a bit because there's a chance you screwed up. But if you did, don't worry, I still love you. Now, in terms of one of the star attractions, the duxelle, sounds fancy, but it's just French. It just is basically finely chopped, sauteed mushrooms. Speaking of mushrooms, here they are. Now, along with that, we also have the return of garlic. I know you guys have missed him since the first episode. And we're also going to need a shallot, just some butter for sauteing, and some thyme. And since this is called beef Wellington, you may be wondering, hey, where's the beef? Well, here's the beef. Now, much like most of us, after a nice, long day of hard work, we all want to be slathered in mustard and wrapped in prosciutto. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, Landon, there's just too much meat. How are we going to contain all of it? Well, the answer to that is puff pastry. Now, you can use store-bought, or if you hate yourself like me, you can make your own. Now, of course, we're going to need some stuff to make it taste good, which is why we have salt. And to seal this all up, we have the star of this attraction, one single egg. 2 eggs. You need 2 eggs. Now to contend with our duxelle. Now you're going to want roughly 1 to 1.5 pounds of mushrooms. Now I decided to go for a 1 to 3 blend of portobello, shiitake, and white. And cremini were on sale, so those 4 or 5 of those mixed in. Now, you want to cut these into nice pea-sized pieces. And I'm going to be doing this by hand because I'm a manly man. And it's definitely not because the middle class is shrinking by the day and food processors are not cheap. It's because I'm extra, not definitely, I'm just extra. Whew, that took forever. Well, anyway, let's get back to chopping more stuff. So what we're going to do is we are going to finely chop our shallot in preparation for it to be sauteed. Now, the method that I recommend most is going down the sides while keeping the root intact and going nice and thin. Nice and thin. So now we are going to chop our roughly 2 to 3 sprigs of thyme. We just want this nice and fine, but if it's not fine, don't worry, I still love you. Now that we're done with that, we are also going to need 2 to 3 cloves of garlic. Before you begin sauteing, you're going to want to melt 2 tablespoons of butter on your cast iron skillet at medium to medium-low heat. Now that we have roughly 2 tablespoons of stick butter melted, which you better have been using stick butter. Stick butter's the best. If you were using the stuff in a tub, why would you use the stuff in a tub? If you use it in the tub, I'll find you! I'll find you!
So is this why you're taking it in your management classes?
Shut the hell up, Reid. What is with you constantly bringing up my use of constant anger management before I cook? I mean, seriously, it's not that difficult.
You're just angry all the time, bro.
Well, I'm sorry I'm angry all the time. You know what? No, actually, no, I'm not sorry that I'm angry all the time. Because you know what? At least it gives me an outlet for your ass. Anyway, now we're just going to add roughly all of our shallots into here. So now we are going to press in our garlic and add it to the shallot. Once that's been sauteing for a little bit, we are going to add in our thyme. You know, we're not looking to cook these boys, we're just trying to saute them. And we're going to saute these for 5 minutes before adding in our mushrooms. Now that that's done sauteing and I've put in another 2 tablespoons of the stick butter, it is now time to add our mushrooms. Now, I know this seems like a lot of mushrooms, but it'll eventually simmer down, especially with the help of salt. And also for flavor, pepper. Now, if you want, you can add more, but since I'm, how do I say this? European, white, this is the spiciest thing I can tolerate. Once it is simmered down to roughly this amount, you're going to want to turn the heat down to low and keep stirring every now and then. Or you can just, waste all the time you want for 20 minutes, much like my court-mandated anger management meetings. Now that our duck cell is reduced to roughly this amount, we're going to want to transfer it over to a plate. It's just paper, I ain't fancy. And now, for the star of the show, the center cut tenderloin, also known as the Chateaubriand in France. Now, we've been letting it sit to come to room temperature, and now we're going to tie it and then sear it. So now, before we sear, we're gonna wanna tie this boy up. Now, the way I do it is that I usually tie it in 5 places: here, 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 and here. Now, in order to tie it, I use an extremely complex knot that I actually learned when I was in the Scouts. True story. But this knot was invented all the way back in roughly 13,000 BC. It is considered to be one of the most complex and difficult knots to ever grace humanity. So, sorry, I'm just trying to breathe before I even think of doing this complex knot. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, okay. I did it. And once you're finished tying, it should look something like this. Now that we've tied it, we need to liberally season on both sides with salt and pepper. So that is what I am going to do now. So what we're doing here is we are adding in oil, in this case canola, to our cast iron skillet. Now we're going to let this boy get ripping hot to the point where we see smoke. So now that it is smoking, we're going to add our fruit. Now we're going to do this for roughly 2 to 3 minutes on each side. We're not trying to cook it, we're just searing it. Make sure you're getting all the sides and not forgetting the ends, like my parents forgot me in the ball pit of a Chuck E. Cheese on my 6th birthday. For legal reasons and actual reasons, that is a joke. If that message was too quick for you to read, try getting to a reading level that isn't below a 3rd grader's. You just want to sear this until your tenderloin is well browned on each side, or until your smoke alarm goes off. There we go. Once you're done searing, your tenderloin should look something like this. Now, I know mine is pretty perfect, but it doesn't have to be exactly like that. Just once you're happy with the way it looks, you can begin to put on a thin layer of Dijon mustard on all 6 sides, including the ends, and then cut off your twine. Now, for the next step, you're going to need to grab some plastic wrap that's twice the length and width of your tenderloin. Now, it doesn't need to be exactly twice the length or width, just around that area. Sorry to my 7th grade math teacher, what you taught me about surface area is still completely useless. After you get the right size plastic wrap, lay it down on the counter and start laying your prosciutto across it until there's enough to cover the tenderloin. Remember that mushroom mixture we just put into the fridge? If so, go get it out of the fridge and spread it thinly and evenly across the prosciutto like I am right now. If you did not remember it though, start actually listening to me from now on. Got that? Then grab your tenderloin and season it again. Once you season it, wrap the prosciutto, mushroom mixture, and plastic wrap around it. Don't worry, we won't eat the plastic wrap. It's just supposed to keep the shape of the tenderloin. So make sure it's wrapped up tighter than David Bowie's pants in the 1986 film Labyrinth. So now that we wrapped it all up, we're going to place it in the fridge to just chill out for roughly 15 minutes. Now for the fun part, making a mess of your kitchen, or as I call it, flouring your work surface and your hands and your rolling pin. So we're going to lightly flour our work surface. You don't need a lot, just enough to make sure that the puff pastry don't stick when we're rolling it. Just a nice light dusting. Don't forget your rolling pin and your hands. So now it is time to make the shell for our beef Wellington, which will be made with the constantly mentioned puff pastry. So now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to lightly flour both sides, just so that way it don't stick to the counter or the rolling pin. And then what you're going to want to do is you are going to want to roll it out just slightly longer and wider than your original prosciutto shell. So we're going to do that now. So now that we've rolled out our puff pastry, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take our beefy boy out from the fridge and obviously take the plastic wrap off, but right now this is just for demonstration. And what we're going to do is we're going to be wrapping the puff pastry around it. So let me take off the plastic wrap off of this boy so we can actually start rolling. Before we actually start rolling this boy up, we're going to want to use egg wash to brush down the sides. Now, egg wash most of the time is just a mixture of 1 tablespoon of water and 1 egg. So I am just going to very lightly brush down the sides. Now the only reason that I'm saying very lightly is because I may screw up, and that's okay, because I'm going to fix it later. So now we are just going to roll this up like a nice meaty burrito. Now it is actually important that you do get full coverage on both sides, because the main thing is you don't want any of this juiciness spilling out into your oven. Where's the fun in that? All right, so now that it is nice and completely rolled up, which by the way, it's okay if you have some excess, you can fix it very easily, unlike my parents' marriage. So you can just trim off any excess that you may have. It's perfectly fine. I'm not gonna judge you. I'm not even gonna judge me. So right now I'm just trimming off any excess, and I'm just going to make sure that all the corners are nice and tucked in to the pastry itself. Okay, now that it is all nice and pinched, we are just going to take this boy and place it in the fridge for roughly 15 to 20 minutes, just so that it can firm up, and then into the oven it goes. Once our boy is done resting in the fridge for roughly 15 to 20 minutes, we're going to take it out and place it onto a foil-lined baking sheet, in which we're going to quickly just coat the top with some egg wash. This is just going to help control the rate of the browning of the puff pastry. And it's also going to give it a nice golden sheen, while also helping seal up any places that we might have missed, or more specifically, that I might have missed. Now we're just going to place some scores along the puff pastry, so that way, as it steams, it doesn't, you know, explode. Okay, so now that we have the scores on there, we are just going to pop this boy into a 425 degree Fahrenheit oven for roughly 40 to 45 minutes, or until the internal of the beef reaches roughly 120 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit, or a nice medium rare. Now, if you're vertically challenged like me, you may need the assistance of a stool. And that's it. You've successfully made beef Wellington. And now all you need to do is wait 10 minutes for it to cool off and to let the meat rest, and you can finally have the best meal of your life. Hey guys, so hey camera guy, can you maybe pan up a little bit? Hi, so yeah, it's finally dawning on me. Before anything, I just want to say how happy I am and just completely overjoyed that I was able to have this experience, to be able to share my love of cooking with you guys. And I'm getting very emotional right now. I'm aware that this is going to be a little bit rambly, but what I'm trying to say is there aren't words for how genuinely thankful I am for each and every one of you for supporting the show, hell, supporting me, but mainly supporting the one message that I want to convey with Lounging with Landon. You can cook. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because I know you can. Genuinely, from the bottom of my non-existent heart, I believe in you. So, yeah, if you ever believe that you can't cook, just know that there will always be at least one person in your corner, always cheering you on. So for what is potentially the last time, I want to thank each and every one of you for watching Lounging with Landon. I love you all. Goodbye.